What's up, everybody? Heck Cali with Joaquin Camberos in Tucson, Arizona at the Reyes Boxing Academy. Joaquin, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time. You just finished bag work right
Absolutely,
now.
yeah, I did. You know, I just wrapped up some training. So yeah.
There's not. If anybody's gonna be nervous, it's gonna be me. I'm in your domain right now.
Yeah.
So you just came off another victory, 7-0 now. Seventh victory was out in Phoenix at Iron Boy's last event in February. Tell me how that fight went. How different was that from your fights in Mexico?
Well, it was a big difference because mainly, I think the atmosphere. You know, Mexico has a good atmosphere, but it's nothing compared to. Or I don't know, maybe because it was like my crowd, you know, my family, my friends. So I think the atmosphere was different then.
But you feel like it added more nerves?
Absolutely, yes, yeah, you know, because in Mexico, like some of my family shows up and stuff, some of my friends, but it's nothing compared to here. Like that was insane, you know.
You have
like,
a smaller crowd that shows up. Nobody really knows you out there.
Yeah.
Here, it's like the pressure of like to perform.
It's different, but it's good. Like I liked it way more. But fighting in Mexico, you know, that's where the experience is. I also got a lot of fans up there, you know. I appreciate it.
I saw an interview with you leading to that fight with Blues Productions. Shout out to Blues Productions, who's local as well. And Coach Reyes mentions this is a fight we're looking to make a statement.
Absolutely.
Why was that?
You know, it's the pro debut up in the U.S., so that's very important. It's important to make a statement. You know, it's not the outcome we were looking for. We were looking for the knockout, but you know, it's still a win, and it was a dominant victory.
Six-round fight?
It was a 6-round fight, yes, sir.
And then the interesting thing, and the reason you want to make a statement, for those that haven't caught on, you just turned 18. You're 7-0,
yeah,
but you just turned 18.
Yeah,
now
yes,
you get to fight here, and that's where the added pressure comes. You're making your debut here in the U.S.
Yeah, that's true.
So success.
Absolutely. You know, I did 6 fights up in Mexico. I turned pro March of 2024. And I finished my last fight in Mexico in November 2024. So I did 6 fights in between that time, which I think it's really good.
You feel like it's more organized here since that fight that you had last month? The fact that did you have a little more information about your opponent going into
for
more so than the Mexican opponents? Because you go to Mexico and you're fighting 30-year-olds, full-grown, you have no tape, nothing to do research on. So talk to me about that difference.
Well, when I was first starting off my professional career. Often I would get opponents. Sometimes it would be like full camps, right? I would know who I'm fighting. I had time to study them. But other times, like I fought 2 times in November. So the first time I fought, that was gonna be my last time for the year. So I was gonna finish the year off 6-0. But they changed my opponent like last second, and it was a horrible opponent. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't horrible, but you know, it wasn't the opponent I was looking for. You know, she shouldn't have been in the ring with me. So right after the fight,
from the crowd and
absolutely. You know, it was disrespectful. I felt really disrespected, and I was like, I can't do that. So we took another fight 3 weeks after that fight, and we kept it moving.
And that's something interesting that it could backfire, right? Because you go out there and you get just any run-of-the-mill fighter that goes in there, lesser trained, and if they catch you with the wrong blow, your whole career
it's over.
Your whole career is done or delayed, right? And that's the dangers of just taking like last minute fights like that versus I feel like it's a little bit more organized here.
Yeah, and then for my last fight here, in Iron Boy, like I had my opponent like I think a month prior, so I had time to study him, I had time to review him, and I hope that's how all the fights here should be. You know, I already got my opponent for my next fight, and we've been studying him carefully.
You want to break the news here? When is that next fight? When are we looking at?
My next fight, June 7th. Nice. Hopefully here in June 7th. I'll let you guys know if I have tickets soon. But yeah, I hope everybody can make it. I'm pretty sure it's in the Casino del Sol. If not, we'll keep you updated on my channel.
Is it going to be also an Iron Boy promotion coming to Tucson, or is it somebody else, a different company that's putting on that show?
I'm pretty sure it's a different promotion. Honestly, I'm not too sure, like, all the information just yet, but I'll let you guys know.
June 7th, that's what we're looking at right now.
Yes,
and you have information on the opponent already.
And
how are you seeing that big step up, or we're still a small build up?
It's a pretty good step up, you know. He's a lefty, so we're making adjustments well for that fight. But honestly, I'm positive I'm getting him out. I'm positive.
You have 7 fights under your belt, and it's been sporadic with all the level of opposition, but the last opponent was probably the most seasoned opponent that you had yet. At 7-0, how do you see your career progressing with looking at your entire resume?
Yeah.
Was it going up and down, like roller coaster, with this last opponent being the most sturdy that you could level, or has every single opponent been a step up?
I think my last 4 opponents, like counting, like, yeah, I think my last 4 opponents have been good. Honestly, the last opponent I had, he was really good. He was coming out of Agua Prieta, I think it was, and he was a solid opponent. But I'm pretty sure I struggled more with my opponent in Los Mochis. He was from Los Mochis, Sinaloa, I'm pretty sure it is. And I fought with him in Navajo. It was a 6-rounder. That was the first round. That was the first fight that I lasted all the rounds, lasted all the distance. So it was a big step up for me. And I'm pretty sure he was like 7. I'm not too sure about his record, but he was a really solid opponent.
Are you noticing your progression? Do you notice, like, when you get in the ring,
Oh, yeah.
every single time that you step in the ring, you're learning something, or you're applying something that you may have learned in that camp? Or do you feel like just all around you're becoming a better, more rounded boxer?
I think it's
Like, you feel like you step in the ring and you're like, this camp, all I did was practice defense, and then you notice, hey, my defense came in? Or do you feel like all around everything's just getting sharper and quicker? And
No, honestly, I think it's all around, bro. Because my last fight, I was practicing a lot of combinations. And what I think really shined in my last fight was my defense. You know, I didn't really get touched. I got touched like with some punches, but nothing too crazy. And yeah, I just think slowly progressing. I think I'm just gonna be leveling up every aspect I have.
Nice. And I ask you that because I've asked boxers where they say, all I did was just focus on footwork and defense for this camp. Then they get a fighter that ends up just getting in on their space. They don't have time for defense. Now it becomes an offensive phone booth fight, and now their whole camp just went sideways, you know, and they'll derail them. That's why I was asking you, like, now you're starting to control the ring better, you're getting more comfortable, and so this June, we should see even a next level progression from Joaquin.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, and I think that's just from the experience, you know, you know what to do when certain challenges approach in the ring, you know. Like if he's rushing me, how is he rushing me? Is he rushing me straight, diagonally? Is he a cautious fighter, you know? And I think it's just the experience, you know. It's way different from the amateurs, and yeah, I think just slowly building up.
You're 18. How old were you when you started boxing?
I was 4.5, so I had like around 5. Yeah.
And how many years have you been linked up with Coach Reyes?
I started with Coach Reyes, and then like I was around 11 and 12, and then we mixed with another coach, Coach Sylvester, but I went back with Coach Reyes was always my main coach, so yeah. And then after that, we've just been together.
Did you have a lot of amateur fights?
I think I had like a record of 80 and 20. I think so. Around there, yeah.
That's really impressive. So you and Coach Reyes potentially are going to be like a Eddie Reynoso Canelo type thing. You guys know each other really well now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. I'm like, man, Eddie and Canelo have had a relationship. Like me and Coach Reyes. You know, that's really,
and then they carried over to the ring. And
that's really cool to think about.
Really well.
Yeah.
Man, that's really cool. And then are you still in school? You're graduating school this year?
Yeah, I'm graduating.
You're a senior right now?
I'm a senior.
I'm a superstar at school?
Huh?
You're a superstar at school?
I don't know, maybe. I'm just trying to get by, man. I'm just trying to graduate. That's all I'm trying to do.
But people know that you're boxing, that you're already conducting interviews,
you're
traveling. That takes away from school, right?
Yeah.
How are you doing at school? You're doing pretty good?
Huh?
How are you doing at school?
I'm passing, yeah. I used to be pretty good at school, you know, but I think I noticed a big change last year when I started my pro debut. You know, I feel like I would always prioritize school over boxing. You know, just that's how my parents always raised me. But with this pro debut and everything, I prioritize boxing over school. You know.
Where does this discipline come from? You're very mature for 18.
Yeah.
You're the way that you speak, you're very soft-spoken, you carry yourself very good. Where does this come from? Because at 18, the normal 18-year-old is just thinking about Friday night already and partying, but you're very disciplined. You're in the gym, you're staying focused. You have something right there that's guiding you, something that's that you have your eyes set on?
Well, thank you. But I think that comes from my parents, honestly. You know, they always just keep pushing me forward. My parents, and then I just always motivate myself. You know, I always push myself. I don't like slacking around, honestly. And again, to my parents, they've always just keep pushing. They've always kept pushing me. I mean, I'm sorry, but they've always been my biggest motivation since I was young.
Younger siblings or older siblings?
I have an older sister and an older brother, and they're also big motivations. I think my younger brother, you know, I strive to be his biggest motivation because, you know, he's always seeing me go to practice, go to training, and then handling with school. I think I'm just trying to be the best version of myself for them.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. What do you want to tell your fans? How do they follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, I'm pretty sure, you know. Maybe I'll start a YouTube channel soon. I don't know yet, but, you know, I'm
starting to grow your social media?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
How often are you in the gym right now?
Oh, every day. Every day, and then Saturday I'm doing road work. So, yeah.
What is this camp going to be based on for between now and June? Without giving too much away, obviously, but what do you feel that this camp you're going to work on mostly?
Definitely my footwork. You know, he's a lefty, I'm righty. He has the advantage, I guess you could say. But I guess just my footwork, and then, yeah, footwork and speed, because I already have the power. So.
All right, let's have a little fun with this now. You're campaigning lightweight is what they list you at, but your last 3 fights were around the 140 limit.
140, that's correct, yeah.
Which division is more comfortable for you?
Well, I have an easier time making 140. I walk around like 150 usually, so it's just, you know, 10 pounds. I can drop that in the last week. But I feel like I'm the best version of myself at 135. I feel like I have, you know, I just move around better in the ring. And yeah, I feel like
if this next fight at 135?
I'm pretty sure it's at 140. 140 again, yeah. But if we were to take a bigger step, like in the... But I feel like if I were to take a bigger step, it would be at 135. You're good, bro. No worries.
You're good. So 140 again, and then 135 is the one that you're ideally going to start narrowing into?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the plan. You know, and then I started my pro debut at 130. And like I like go back to some photos, and I don't think I can make that weight no more. 130 is crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know how I made that. Yeah.
So let's talk 135 then, if that's your division.
Yeah.
Let's talk 135. You got Lomachenko looking to retire at the end of the year. He's in recess. You got Raymond Murataya, who's really tall. I've actually stood next to him for that division. He's going to be fighting for the interim with Abdullayev, I think it is, or Butayev, one of those guys. Then you got Shakur.
Yeah.
Then you got Tank. And you got William Cepeda that's making the most noise right now, trying to get that fight with Shakur. Keyshawn Davis, the most recent champion.
Yeah.
How do you see this? Who's the strongest? Give me the number 1 through 4. Who's the strongest of the champs?
Honestly, I really like Shakur. You know, people call him a boring fighter, but I feel like he's the most just complete fighter. You know, yeah. Him or Keyshawn, I feel like they have a very identical style. You know, they're always in the same camps.
Yeah.
But I feel like those are the top 2 kings right now in that weight class. Maybe put up there. Well, you could put. I like what I saw from Roach in his last fight against Davis. You know, that was really good. Floyd Schofield. Maybe. You know, I would have loved to see that fight with Shakur. You know, it couldn't happen, but I feel like that would have really proved a lot from him. What else would I put for my last?
It's a heavy field. Once
yeah,
Loma
absolutely.
And
yeah.
It's gonna be open.
Oh man. My last one. Who would it be? I think you gotta put
Abdullah Mason, Kermel Moulton.
Nah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe, but nah, not yet. Who else would I put up there? You could put. Nah, Teal's 140, huh?
He's at 140 now.
Who is it? I'm not sure, honestly. You could honestly put like maybe a Navarrete. Isn't he coming up from 130?
I think he might come up again. Yeah, he's gonna fight at 130 again and defend that title, and then he might come up back to 135.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think those 3 are probably my biggest ones though.
Nice.
Floyd,
who do you think out of these champions will be across the ring from you when you get that title shot in a couple years' time?
Maybe we might see a Keyshawn, maybe, you know. You know, and it's crazy to say that, but
yeah.
you know, it's pretty you know, it's a crazy thought, and it just fills me with so much like excitement, you know.
That's the one that motivates you.
Yeah,
huh? You
like
and Keyshawn.
no, Keyshawn, any fight, honestly,
Yeah,
just being up in that stage, that sounds like a blessing. You know?
Sounds insane, huh?
Yeah.
Since you mentioned Tio, he's at 140 now. Give me your prediction. Tio and Arnold Barbosa coming up.
No, Barbosa's a really strong fighter. You know, I like what I saw from him in his last fight against who was it, Catterall or was it Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful fight from him, and but Tio has a lot in the tank, and I've been a really big fan of Tio. You know, I predicted he was gonna beat Lomachenko back when they fought, but if I were to give it to someone, I think Tio. I'll say and give it to Tio, but I feel like there might be a slight upcoming of Barbosa, so we might get that shocker that, you know.
He's a well-rounded fighter, so
I
he
don't
could.
know, yeah, maybe.
All depend. We don't know what version of Tio shows up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's also true. We might get that Camberos Tio. Yeah.
Man, I appreciate talking to you so much. We'll be pulling for you in June.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
If all goes well, God willing, 8-0 by June, and then how many more fights do you think you'll get this year?
As much as I can, you know. If I could finish 14, 15-0, however much I can fit in this year, I want it.
Man, that's awesome. All right, parting words.
Thank you,
some
man.
Parting words for your family, your friends, your
Parting
fans.
words, you know. Thank you guys for all the support. Thank you guys for showing up for my fights, whether that be in person or, you know, through phone, through video. I appreciate every message you guys send, every comment you guys leave. Thank you, and I'll make sure to keep it moving, keep it pushing.
Man, I appreciate you so much, brother. Best of luck on your next fight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.